Hey, this is Wolf from Barefoot Bushcraft, and here today we're going to discuss the dollar store axe. As always, I want to thank you so much for tuning into this video. So as most people in the outdoor industry, bushcrafters and all that sort of stuff know, the Gransfors Brooks is often arguably the holy grail of axes. It's the one everybody wants. They say it is, crafted by nude virgins on the full moon, and they're dudes. They're naked dudes. Everybody has a beautiful lore and everybody wants it. But as most of you know, these axes are very, very expensive pieces of equipment. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars for these axes. But if you go to your local dollar store, you might find this. This is the Duramax axe. In Canada, where I'm filming this, they retail for $4. So the question becomes, is this axe that's $4, is the axe any good? So the first thing we need to do is take a look at one of the axes when they're brand new and, take a look at the outside of the axe and see, hey, for $4, man, can you go wrong? Maybe it's the right axe for you. Maybe it's a great backup axe. Here's what the axe looks like when it's new. So it has a little label on it. Label says things on it like, make sure you wear it with safety glasses and all that stuff. It says made in China for Dollarama of Quebec, or QC. Yeah. So I don't know, hopefully that'll turn out and you can see that label. On the other side, there isn't much labeling other than it just says basically dollar store, and then of course the price, which happened to be $4 in 2022 when we made this. So that's kind of like zip tied on, so it doesn't come off that easy. You can, of course, you could just cut them off, which is what we will do here. So we'll just take the zip ties, 1 and 2. There we go. That's that. All right, so then the other thing, it usually comes in a bag. Take the bag off and take that off. So there we go. There's this beautiful $4 dollar store axe. So let's see how sharp it is. So if you can look, I mean, this thing is dull. It is dull. Like, there's no edge on it whatsoever. If you look at the edge profile, it's completely dull. I mean, it is so dull. It's like the kind of person who works for our facility for 3 or 4 weeks, then goes and starts their own bushcraft school up the street. It's that dull. Like, it's absolutely senselessly dull. I guess what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take it to a belt sander, just because I want a nice quick edge on it, run it along the belt sander, and sharpen it up. After running it through the belt sander, we have a bit of an edge on it now. Now, I do want to give you guys some background on this. This is not an out-of-the-box, first-time using unboxing video on these axes. I have been using these axes, oh my goodness, for well over 5, maybe 6 years, but in a slightly different capacity. So as all of you know, Barefoot Bushcraft is a real place you can come and visit. One of the activities we offer there is axe throwing. So we have used these dollar store axes, these Duramax axes, for well over 5 or 6 years as axe throwing axes. I'll put a video here of a guy throwing one of those axes. And you can see I'll put some pictures here of customers using those axes. So they do hold up really well. And I mean, as an axe, as a throwing axe, they get the heck beaten out of them. I mean, the first thing that happens is the backs get all dinged up on them, and they just literally get beaten. How we solve that is literally we just kept every month, myself or staff would put a new edge on these blades, and then when the handles themselves get all dinged up, we would just put either duct tape or hockey tape or some kind of tape over top of it to make them usable, and you can see that in some of these photos. So this is not the first time I have ever had one of these axes, and I have to say they are certainly compared to a hardened steel like a Gransfors or a higher end axe like that, these axes are a soft steel. So what that basically means is the first time you hit any substantial object, whether it be a screw or, I don't know, a rock, you are going to take a chunk out of the blade. And as you know, the only way to fix that is to take the edge back past the chunk and to resharpen it. But with a soft steel, it only takes a few seconds on a belt sander in order to get these sharp. I did use a belt sander because the massive flatness of this edge, if I used a whetstone or any kind of sharpening stone, I'd have literally been there for an entire day trying to get this thing sharp. So I just, like you saw, put a quick, nice little edge on it. So most importantly, let's go and do what axes are designed to do, other than, like I said, we spent years and years throwing these axes at targets. Let's try to split some wood with it. So we have a bunch of different pieces of wood here. I can kind of see by that grain in there. That's a little bit of a harder wood. This one is also a harder wood. You can kind of tell by that nice grain in there. You know, down here in southern Ontario, where Barefoot Bushcraft is, we have an awful lot of old ash wood. We have a problem with the ash boring beetle, so that's sort of a problem in this area. So we have lots and lots of hardwood because we are in what's called the upper or the northern section of Carolinian forest. But more importantly, let's see how this guy performs. So we'll just take this, we'll stand it up. I'm going to use a safety stick on it here so I don't hit myself, and then just try to power through it. Well, it's split. Let's try another piece. So when I hit it, we're getting it to split. Like I said, I always use a safety stick just because I don't want to hit me. I'm not using a whole lot of downward force or thrust on this, but enough that hopefully it will get it to split. One of the other things you can do is you can use the axe like this, right? This is a fairly sizable piece of wood. We'll see if it'll split it. Some people say that's a safer way to use the axe. I got some wood split there. I went ahead there and cut a bunch of wood with my newly sharpened axe, and look at that edge. Look at it. Literally, I mean, and just wood. It's just wood. There's nothing else that I hacked with it other than wood, and it just literally took the edge right off. I'll put some contrast there to it so you can see it, and it just sort of hacked right through the blade as much as it did the wood. So I don't even know, my next plan is going to try to be making some shavings with this, but as you can see, the whole edge here has been taken off simply by hitting wood. And I'm in sandy loam ground, so I know there's no rocks in the ground, but there's not much edge left on this axe to continue to start hacking stuff with. I'm going to take the top of the edge right there and try to make some shavings, since again the bottom is missing, and it shaves. It makes nice little shavings. Now again, I'm not going to make master, beautiful, super curly shavings that would make Morris Kohansky proud, but it will totally make shavings. And again, this is a very hard wood that I'm cutting through. Obviously it's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard that it took the edge right off the blade. So there we have a really, really quick use of the dollar store Duramax axe. And I have to say, I'm almost impressed at how badly that axe performed. I mean, look at that edge. Like, I mean, that looks like it's literally serrated at this point. And all I did was chop like 2 or 3 pieces of wood, like just a few, like not tons and tons. And the axe itself is just all, like literally pummeled to nothing. As if I was hacking rocks with it. And again, I'm in sand where I am, so I understand the sand will take a little bit of the edge off, but it shouldn't do that. So yeah, unfortunately, I would have to say, after testing some of these axes, other than for throwing, which again, they were really, really good axes for throwing, and many of them served us for many years. But that quality of steel, it doesn't say what quality of steel it is. Yeah. I would have to say to pass on these, unless you're just looking for a fun tool, like for your kids or something like that. Again, I ground it on a slow belt sander to make sure if there was any temper in the blade that I didn't remove the temper. And as you can see, a little bit of splitting takes the edge right off. Now, if I had hit a rock while splitting, and this wasn't the wood that took the edge off, it would most likely be here. Because usually when an axe hits the ground, the axe would hit here, and it would take that's called the toe. It would take the toe off the axe. Yeah. So anyways, I'm Wolf for Barefoot Bushcraft, and I do not recommend these dollar store Duramax axes because, as you can see, they are not the best quality for doing any kind of serious woodworking or bushcraft work. I'm Wolf again for Barefoot Bushcraft. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please consider subscribing.